Hello and welcome back to the Reapers. So it's just me, Cap, today, and it's another educational video. It's a real quick, or hopefully it's going to be quick and brief, and quite a simple one, but one that people still get wrong. In my group I see it a lot as well, so I just want to go over it just to make sure we don't have any errors. So we're looking at IFF, that's Identification Friend or Foe. So what is it? Well, it's a computer system that looks ahead of your plane and detects any other planes and determines whether they are hostile or whether they're friendly. So in real life, one thing I do know is that it's a particularly unreliable system. I remember when I was 10 or 11, I guess, in the first Gulf War, I think there were English or UK planes shot down by American planes. I think it was because of a breakdown in IFF. So yeah, I'd be interested if anyone knew how they worked in real life.
The signal that the interrogating plane is sending out is a specific code, and it requires a specific response.
Right.
And an unidentified plane does not have the right response, so it's going to show up as unconfirmed.
That stuff will happen with Patriots too. It's very important with IFF, like going into and out of country, to have that kind of stuff working. So
I wonder what happens then if you're, say, let's say I'm a British, I don't know, Eurofighter, and I'm heading into, I'm in a war zone, but I'm heading into a friendly USA, base, and for some reason I'm squawking the wrong IFF, and so I look like a baddie to them. I wonder what the procedure is. Do they shoot me down? Do they send someone to visually IFF?
I'm not really going to go into that, but the long and short answer is yes and no. There's ways to mitigate it, but yes, you can get shot down, and it has happened.
Wow, that's crazy. Anyway, getting off topic now. So back on topic, in DCS it is completely reliable. It's not like a real system which is unreliable. It's completely reliable because it's a computer game at the end of the day. It knows exactly who is hostile and who is friendly. So all we need to do now is go through each individual plane and just see how you physically do it. Just regarding the Mirage, so we're looking at the Mirage cockpit here. So this is the right kind of knee panel, you call it, I guess, the right side panel.
Yeah, the right console.
So when you start the Mirage up from cold, it's going to be off this I can't say that. It means interrogate, doesn't it? Interrogate. So it will be off. So that's very important to know, because if you've got a Mirage and you fresh started and you go up and you start looking at targets, it's important to know that you've got this interrogate off as standard, so you cannot tell whether the guy is hostile or whether it's friendly, and that's like a mistake people still make.
You can't even use the interrogator switch unless you switch that switch to on. Like, it wouldn't even let you interrogate, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and you want to have it either on. It doesn't matter which mode you've got it on right now. I've literally just tried it. Sectional just works when you press the noticeable steering button. It's going to identify with that. The same goes for continuous. It doesn't make a difference in the Mirage right now.
Right.
And you say there's a triangle on the HUD, or how does it, on the radar? How does
right.
it
Once you have a radar contact, you're going to see a chevron pointing down. If that plane is a friendly when you identify, it's going to get a diamond in it, and it's very prominent. You cannot miss it.
Right, so that's, for the record, that's how you do it in the Mirage. Let's not see anyone else shooting anyone else down, please. Lovely job.
Also, Fortunero pointed out that there is a HUD indication too. If you lock a friendly and you IFF, you'll see a little A in the lockbox on the HUD that's locking the target, and that A indicates that it's a friendly.
Right, A on the HUD. Roger that. Cool. Okay, lovely. F-5 is passive only, isn't it? It can't interrogate because it doesn't. Well, it does have a radar, but it can't interrogate IFF, can it? The F-5.
That's correct. The F-5 does not have an interrogator, but it does have a IFF transponder.
And is that automatic, or do you need to turn that on as well? I've never done it myself.
It's been a while since I've flown the F-5, but I think you need to turn it on yourself. Yes.
Okay, that's fine. And regards to Mig-21, I don't have that either, but that apparently does have an IFF interrogator.
Yes.
Yes.
So you're looking through, so you've got your radar scope on, and what do you have to do to turn on the IFF, and what will you be looking for in the display?
There's like a radar. Is this a MiG-21?
Roger.
Yeah.
There's like a radar control panel above to the right of your radar scope, and it's got like 8 buttons, and on the far right and the top
it's on top of it.
Yeah. You have your IFF, right, that's where it is. You have your IFF button. And you click it, and it'll show a little red ring around the button, meaning it's being actuated. And the radar scope, the identification markers are like different, just like in every plane. A single dashed line means an enemy, and an equal sign or 2 dashed lines means a friendly.
Roger. So you
It
just
only interrogates for a second.
got to press that on, do the interrogation, and then quickly look whether it's a single line or a double line. Then.
Yeah, it's just not on the stick anywhere or anything. It's like on a panel, but you can map it, of course.
Yeah.
Roger that. Cool. All right. I'm going to
Also, a fair word of warning: you cannot identify a friend or foe after you've locked a target.
Right. So it's only when you're scanning then.
Yeah, only when you're scanning. That's right.
That's weird.
Yeah, because when you lock a target, the radar changes from to a totally different like view. So
it goes from top down to a front view,
like a chase.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Right, okay, so we're in the F-15. Okay, so this is one of the simpler planes, basically. So IFF is done automatically in this plane. You don't turn it on, you don't turn it off. In a real plane, I guess you could, but you don't in this. So basically, I've got my radar on, and I'm looking ahead, and you can see 20 miles ahead there is this plane. So I'm scanning, and it's a dash. So, I mean, this is real simple stuff, but it's a dash, so that means it's hostile. If it was a friendly, it would be a dot. That is your IFF working and doing its job. You can also lock that target. Let's do that, bosh. Now you can't no longer tell here on the actual radar screen, but we can now look up in the HUD and find the target, and you can see a box right in the middle of the HUD. That box is an empty box, which means it is a hostile. If it were a friendly and the IFF have picked it up as a friendly, it would have a cross through that box saying not to shoot it. So that's how the F-15 works. Real simple. You've got to have your radar on. Can you fire a Sidewinder with your radar off on the F-15, do you know?
Sidewinder, yeah.
Yeah.
So what would happen then? Would you get any kind of IFF then?
No.
So the only danger then is if you're flying with your radar off and you're using a Sidewinder without your radar, then there would be no kind of IFF there. It was pure visual IFF at that point. So that's good. That's an easy one. Let's go and look at the flanker. Okay, so now we're on to the flanker. This is the Su-27, but it's also relevant to the Su-33 and the 3 variants of the MiG-29. So for these planes, again like the F-15, the IFF is always turned on and you cannot turn it off. If we turn our radar on like we've done now, you can see a hostile marked up in the HUD. That's that thing there, those 2 sideways dashes. That's what we call a single dash, and that means that the target is a hostile. If it were a double-decker dash, i.e. like a dash and dashes below, that would mean it's a friendly. That's how it's determined. If we were to lock it up in a target lock, you can see it's changed now, and if we look on the left, on the bottom left, you've got 3 lines, A, ATK, and BVI. It's the top one is the A that tells you it's a hostile. So it says A, then it's a hostile. If it says AFR, Alpha Foxtrot Romeo, that means it's a friendly. That's how you tell when you're locked up. So, one other thing to notice, if we unlock again, find the target, you can determine the, nothing to do with IFF, but the target size. You can see it's just 2 dashes long at the moment, this line. If it were 3 dashes long, that would mean it's a bigger plane. If it was 4 dashes long, it would mean it's a really big plane. Does it by wingspan, we think. So that's that. Now, the only complication in all of these Russian fighters is the EO system, electro-optical system, which is a passive scanning system and doesn't use radar and therefore can't use IFF. And this is where we get stuck quite a lot. So let's use it and see what happens. So we turn our radar off, our EO on. You can see it says EO at the top left. So we've got to go and find the target now. So stand by. Okay, so we're going to lock it up with EO system. Okay, so we're in the EO. So we're in the EO mode, electric optical. There is no IFF here. You'll notice when I've got it locked up, the IFF marker is there, the A. It says A. It doesn't actually know that. The EO doesn't know. It's purely having a guess. It'll always say A there if you're in EO mode. So it's incredibly important to know that you're in EO mode, which doesn't have IFF. I'm trying to drill that into your head by saying it repeatedly. So to actually find out the true IFF, what you have to do is keep it locked on EO, but you have to then turn on your radar, which I'm going to do. If I can just keep this guy still for 2 seconds, hang on a second. So what I'm going to do now is turn my radar on. I'm going to press I, and you can see it says ILL at the bottom now, so you can tell we've got our radar on, and it still says A under the IFF. So you now know it has done an IFF. I can turn my radar off again now, it's off. Okay, and now I can fire my missile or whatever I want to do. So, just to reiterate, if I've just got my radar on, which is fine, I will have IFF, and that when I've locked the target, it will show an A or an AFR. It will show the difference between the hostile or the friendly. When I've got my EO on, and that you'll know because it says EO on the left of the HUD, it will not give me an accurate representation of IFF, and that will lead to disaster, and it still does even in our missions. People forget they have their EO on, they just see A and they think, right, okay, it's a hostile. So what you have to do when you've got your EO on is check your EO on, then turn your radar on. You only have to do it for a second or half a second. See if that A changes to AFR. If it does, you've got a friendly locked up, so disengage. If it still says A when you've got your radar on, you're good to go. So I hope I've drilled that in enough. I can't think of anything else to add. I hope this helps. Go over it again if you need to. Oh, just one thing to add, I've been reminded by Coffee, is that in our heads down display, which I will zoom in on here, some people call it the data link, but I guess it's head down display. If you can to your IFF from here, again if you've got your radar on, so if the plane has a ball on it, like the one there, you can see, I believe that's our plane there, that means it's friendly. If the plane doesn't, if the representation of the plane does not have a ball, but it has like more like an arrow or a chevron, that means it's hostile. So you can IFF from this screen as well. So that's just something else that can help, especially if you're scanning multiple targets. Okay, anything else to add, chaps?
The only thing I would add is for visual identification, I like to have zoom in bound. So my big ass plus key on my numpad is the zoom all the way in function. So I just hit that and it zooms my view in all the way. So that helps me to ID aircraft.
Roger that.
I mean, a little bit further
that's
away.
a good idea, and I've got the same thing here as I'll show. I haven't got it set up as well. It only zooms about halfway in.
Yeah.
But you can see, yeah. So if you're chasing, if we're just dogfighting this guy, around we go, and we can't quite tell. And hopefully this will help a lot of people, especially VR users. VR users drive me nuts because they keep team killing people. Won't name any names, but that's what they do. I think it's because they're not doing what we're about to do, which is to do a zoom in like that, and then you get a better view of the plane. So do that. And another thing in our multiplayer is, I'll mention this as well. In our multiplayer, we can see friendly guys on our map view like this. You can actually, so there's our plane, and if we had a friend in front of us, you'd see another friend. So whenever you do a visual fight, I always recommend going like that, checking if there's a friend in front of you, in which case you're chasing a friend. In fact, I'll say it's essential to do that unless you've got absolutely amazing eyes, which almost no one does because monitors are crap at the end of the day. So 2 tips there: do your zoom in and do your F10 check. If that's all good, then far away. Otherwise you team kill, and let's face it, this group is fucking terrible for team killing. It's like, but anyway, sorry, go ahead, Coffee.
In case you've got someone locked up and you're still not sure if they're friendly or foe, you can always lock them up, do a hard lock or single target track, and call ray gun. And if the other guy's on comms, they're going to report to you that it's friendly, you've locked a friendly, or if it doesn't respond, then you've got a higher chance of locking up a hostile.
Roger that. So, yep. So if I'd had a guy over there, I locked him and I called ray gun. If it was an enemy, obviously he wouldn't respond because we're not on the same radio. If it was a friend and he was, getting locked, he knows this plane would tell him that he's getting locked. He could shout. What did you shout? Brain freeze.
Buddy, right?
Yeah, buddy lock.
Yeah,
buddy spike. If you heard that, then you know there's a very good chance that it's a friendly that you're locking because he's receiving a radar lock. Depending on what plane he was in, he would, he'd have more or less information. If it was an F-15, he'd know what type of plane was locking him. But that's the general thing we use when you hear us call ray gun. That's what we're doing. Obviously, the person needs to understand how the ray gun system works. But yeah.
Hey Cap, I do have something to say on that.
Go.
So, the thing, I hear a lot of people just blurting out ray gun like crazy. So if you think about it, if you have one guy that's saying ray gun, everybody technically should be looking down at their RWR and responding or seeing if there's something popping up. If they have, there's radars all over the place, like they're not going to be able to respond to him, and then he's probably going to end up shooting him down. So realistically, like the ray gun thing people use it way too fucking much, and honestly,
we had one guy who was yelling it out, ray gun, over and over again, and it was an IR missile fight.
Yes, I saw that video.
Yeah,
I saw that
What
video
the
and I was
fuck?
like,
It's
dude,
like
shut
we're not
the
even
hell
using
up.
I know. I mean,
radar.
that's just stupidity, obviously. But even on a radar jet, you still can't do that because, like Wolf was saying, you've got 20 radar beams from all over the map being blasted at you. You can't rely on a ray gun. I only like to use it after a fight, and I'm just scanning around. I'll do a 360 scan. I'm 90% sure that all the hostiles are down, but things are quiet. Then I start locking people up and doing the ray gun check. But you can't do it in the middle of a fight just to get rid of, what's that word, responsibility. You can't just say, oh, I shot at this guy because he didn't tell me ray gun. You can't do that because 90% of the time you can't tell if you're being ray gun because you're being locked up by 10 Su-27s. So you've got to use it responsibly. It's your responsibility when you're firing the missile to not hit that guy. It's not his responsibility to call out ray gun because there's a good chance that he won't be able to. So I'm glad you brought that up, Wolf, because it's something we've got to get into the heads of our guys because no one really knows how to use it. So let's see how that lies then. There's just an extra layer of protection. It's nothing other than that. It's not a mainstream tool to use.